So this is sort of an ad hoc. Oh, Jim Cameron showed up also. Hi, Jim. This is a catch-up segment because we transitioned this from a fixed 12-week program to a progress at your own pace, and there are new people starting and other people that are at various stages. I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we don't leave anybody by the wayside. So I want to cover the first three, spend a little bit of time on each of the first three segments and answer questions if you have them about the first three pieces. So and maybe it's 20 minutes on each one, or it breaks up differently. It depends. But so the program operations segment, this was an addition after the fact, added simply because someone commented that the ramp up on this program was like jumping off a cliff and trying to figure out how to build a parachute on the way down. And they weren't commenting about the content. They were commenting about all of the different pieces of technology that got wired together to make this work. So the program operation segment, which is labeled 0, it was put together just to sort of provide an explanation as to what all the pieces are and why they were selected and how they're intended to work together in this environment to hopefully create this learning environment that allows one to pace through it in a comfortable manner and ask questions with the discussion groups that are connected in through these links, and also during the web sessions when we have them. Even though I encourage people to ask questions on the discussions, because then I get a chance to think about them for more than 5 seconds before I have to answer them. Though I still think that the web sessions are important and will continue to have them, because it's just the immediate interaction is an appropriate level of support. So in terms of the overall program operation, if you have some questions about this particular aspect of the program, I'd like to go ahead and address them. Chris and Jim, your mics are turned on. Kevin doesn't have one, but if he has questions, he'll type them in. So I'm waiting.
Well, I must say I've had no problems once I started really getting into it.
Okay.
So I'm happy.
Okay. I would like to say a couple of words about CloudInary, and that I do an awful lot of rich pictures in Insight Maker, and after doing who knows how many models, it got to a point where every time I would go pull up a model, sooner or later, one of the images would be missing, because all of the images are just locations to someplace out on the web. And people are changing stuff on the web all the time. And it just got to be really, really annoying to have to go look for another image and fix the rich picture. So we went looking for a utility, and we found this utility called CloudInary, which is a very nice utility in terms of it allows you to store images and do an enormous number of manipulations on them on the fly as you pull them out of the repository. And it's a free utility up to a certain level of usage, which makes it very nice. For I can't imagine an individual overrunning what they offer for free. In terms, let me see. Okay, for in other words, we currently have 3,000 images in there, and we're only 3% of the free plan limit, 125 megabytes, which is 10% of the plan limit. And the bandwidth is kind of high because there are a lot of people pulling the models for the certification program, which is why the bandwidth is so high. But in terms of what it does is it allows us to store an endless array of images, and in most instances we simply right-click and copy the image URL of this small version of it, but the full-size version of it is there also with an endless array of manipulations that you can do on the image and simply pull them out with the URL. So if you end up, and it probably took 30 minutes to figure out how to use the utility so that you find images someplace on the web and you dump them in here and then you grab the URL from here and paste it into your rich picture. So it's a something that we have found extremely useful, and that it has been free to this point. It's been wonderful. We expected that we would get to a point where we're going to have to pay for a subscription to it, though I think most people will find it difficult running into those limits. Okay. Otherwise, Kumu itself, which is the primary piece of software that made all of this possible, I tell people it's a piece of software that I looked for about 14 years and went through numerous different platforms that almost got there, though none of them were ever quite what they needed to be. And when I had almost gotten to a point of saying it's just never going to happen, the Moore brothers showed up with this piece of software, and I've been working with them for about 6 months now, and it is just a marvelous utility for developing relationship diagrams, true relationship diagrams that don't have to be hierarchical. I mean, you can develop a hierarchical diagram if you want to, though there is no need for the relationship diagram to have any sense of hierarchy to it whatsoever, and that it allows me to weave all of these other things into it. And the whole idea of being able to take this link library that I use on an ongoing basis and wire this in here so that people could access it directly without having to go to another window someplace, and to put the Google Calendar in here so that people could read the schedule this way as opposed to reading it here, which is just not the normal way we end up reading schedules. So it's just delightful. Any questions?
On your software, Gene, how do you see it progressing? What's the overall plan? I noticed you've got, for example, agent-based modeling developing in it.
In Insight Maker itself?
Yes.
Okay. Insight Maker is not mine. Insight Maker is the brainchild of Scott Fort Monroe.
Okay.
And I don't know, 4.5 years ago, I managed to accidentally connect with Scott while he was in Europe on a Fulbright scholarship developing software, and he was working on this concept for a web-based application, which was something that I just made tremendous amount of sense to me, so that you could develop models and readily share them with other people. So Scott and I have worked on he's been doing development for 4.5 years, and I've been trying to convince him of things that he really ought to add to it. So for 4.5 years, we've been working together. It currently does continuous simulation. It does agent-based modeling. There is a thought to do discrete simulation at some point in the future, though, once you get married, have children, you have all these responsibilities, and you don't have as much time to develop software as you used to and would like to. So he continues to work on it when he can, though he's working full-time now. Does that answer your question?
Yes, the reason I ask is that I'm interested in complexity generally, okay? And part of the problem I've always run into was that as someone who's been involved in business and business issues all his life, working like. I'm not a programmer, and the ones who seem to be writing the relevant programs, for example, in agent-based modeling and discrete modeling, aren't business people. So there's a big gap between people who know the business sphere and people who know the programming sphere. So I cannot afford the time to sit down and learn maybe Java, okay? And therefore, when it comes to using programs such as NetLogo, I'm sort of frittering around wasting time, whereas a program, I hope maybe such as Insight Maker, will enable me to do the basics quickly without all the hoopla you have to go through to get a program to work. So that's my interest in.
Okay, well, once you get into the agent-based modeling in Insight Maker, you can let Scott know. I mean, you have some experience with NetLogo?
Yeah, NetLogo, and I
Okay.
bought.
I expect that you will find it easier to initially get into agent-based modeling in Insight Maker than it was in NetLogo. I tried to spend some time learning NetLogo, and I didn't have the time to get up to speed on it.
Correct.
Hello, Karen. Are you there?
Yep.
I can go ahead and leave you unmuted if you would like, so that you can ask questions. There's only a few of us here today, so it's rather open. So I've been talking about the the program operations segment of the environment. Do you have any questions in that area?
No, I don't. Thanks.
Okay. Well, then I will go ahead and progress to